When I say unlazy with, you say language. Unlazy with language. Unlazy with language, right? I'm talking about saying what I mean. Nothing is by happenstance. Everything is on purpose. Everybody say on purpose. On purpose. Okay. How you doing, folks? Welcome to MASTERCLASS, Rhythm and Poetry MASTERCLASS number 1. Today we're going to cover multi-syllable rhyming. And so we're just going to jump right into it. So the first thing to understand is when we talk about rhyming, right, the art of rhyming, all right, you understand basic rhyming like hat rhymes with cat, ball rhymes with fall, right? Hat, cat, ball, fall. Now, of course, these are a little bit easier to do. The average person can freestyle a rhyme of hat and cat, ball and fall, or lid and did, right? Or hot and not. So what I'm going to go over today is multi-syllable rhyming. And so, of course, multi starts with 2 or more, multiple, right? So we're going to do 2-syllable rhyme schemes, 3-syllable rhyme schemes, 4-syllable rhyme schemes, and 5-syllable rhyme schemes. And it can go up further, but right now we're just gonna toy around with these. Now, when it comes to rhyming, what rhyming does for your poetry, for your rap, and for your singing, it adds more flair to it. It adds more pizzazz, if you will. It makes it more likable, so on and so forth. So, for example, so for the 2-syllable rhyme, we're gonna use Lorax, right? Lorax, L-O-R-A-X. Kind of deep movie too. Dr. Seuss's Lorax. Lorax, right? 2 syllables, Lorax. Say it with me, Lorax. Now, when you're talking about rhyming, you're rhyming the actual vowel sounds, right? The reason why hot and not rhyme is because they both have O vowel sounds. Now, Lorax has 2 vowel sounds, has a O sound and an A sound, right? So just above the 2, I'm gonna write O plus A. And so what I'm going to write up here is kind of like the coding, if you will, the back door coding to rhyming, the genetic code to it, if you will, right? So O plus A, Lorax, right? So for 3, we're going to use 3-syllable word is energy, right? Energy. Now, 3 syllables, vowel sounds, energy. The 3 vowel sounds you have is the E right here, the E right here, and the Y right there. Now this E sounds like an I because it's in, as in inside, right? In. So we're gonna put an I right there because it's an I vowel sound, plus right? And you can say ER is a U, it could be a U vowel sound, but we'll say E for the sake of this right now. So I plus E plus G, energy. Now, sounds like an E, but it's a Y sound. So actually, no, that is an E. We're gonna say IUE, all right? Because the right? If we wrote this phonetically, phonetic spelling is when you see a definition, and it'll say energy. But then the phonetic spelling will say G, right? The phonetic spelling exposes the true value or meaning of the sound of the vowel. So it will be a U right there. So I plus U plus E, energy. So when you think about the phonetics, phono, right? Phono means sound, right? Telephone, right? Boom. So 4-syllable word, we're gonna say television, all right? Television, all right? Now, if we did a phonetic spelling of television, it would probably say something like vision. Or something. I don't know. It may say something like that, right? So, but as long as you understand how they sound, right? Because as long as you know how it sounds, you can rhyme other words that sound like it. So, television, we'll say E. Right? E vowel sound plus A, we'll say A. This E sounds like an A, television. right? Vision. The I vowel sound will be I. Vision. We'll say I again, right? So EA, I. All right, once again. So we got Lorax, energy, television, and for 5, we're gonna say photosynthesis. All right. Photosynthesis. So if we did the phonetic spelling of that, right? Photo, F-O-T-O, photo, synthesis, right? It's pretty much close. So O-O, right? We do the coding O plus I plus E plus I. Photosynthesis, right? So, boom. So what we have to do now, when I say multi-syllable rhyming, is we have to find other words that match it directly. So, Lorax, we have to find another O and A vowel sound grouping. Now, keep in mind, anything that adds up to 2 will equal this, math-wise. Anything that adds up to 3 will equal this. And when I say equals up to 3, equals up to 2, I'm talking about 2 syllables that match these same vowel sounds. So, Lorax rhymes with floor mat, because the O in floor rhymes with lore, and the mat, the long A, I don't even know if that's a short A, but that A sound matches that A sound. Lorax, floor mat, right? If you said it in a rhyme, it goes together. Energy, okay. Say tendency. Energy, tendency. Television. Repetition. Excuse me. So, direct rhymes, right? They all match. Lorax, format, energy, tendency, television, repetition, and photosynthesis. We're gonna say, I don't know another 5-syllable word that rhymes with photosynthesis, so I'm gonna go ahead and write in a grouping of words that can pair with the vowel sounds. And so I'll say, let me see. Grow, mo, instead of more, right? You pronounce it mo. Grow mo business sense. All right? Nice. Photosynthesis, grow mo business sense. Actually, we'll just say businesses, like plural, all right? Business, ES. Photosynthesis, grow mo businesses. All right, so if we go through all of them, listen to the sounds of them, right? Lorax, floor mat, energy, tendency, television, repetition, photosynthesis, grow more businesses. All right, now what I want you to do is take a moment and try to come up with another word for each column. And so go ahead and pause your video right now and try to exercise. Okay, we're back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a third word to each column. So Lorax, floor mat, say forecast. All right, and then energy, tendency. I'm going to throw a curveball. Infant sings. All right, because that still rhymes. Energy, tendency, infant sings. Television, repetition. Let me see. Television, repetition. Television, repetition. I'm gonna come back to that. Photosynthesis, grow more businesses, promo. So now it becomes a phrase, right? Or a half of a phrase. Sent to his. Television, repetition. Okay, we'll say Fred's decision yeah, cool. So we just created the character. Now the cool thing about rhyming is that creativity is endless. So you can come up with different phrases and the cool part is you can create a way to craft a story. I'm sure you guys are already brewing in your heads different ways how you can make these words connect. And so I'm going to try a freestyle, if you will, using these words to craft the story. So I may say, last afternoon I watched the Lorax while I was laying on the floor mat because outside it had a rainy forecast. And my energy has the tendency to be more joyful than when an infant sings. While watching the television, everything in repetition, I asked my friend and I found out Fred's decision was to sell marijuana legally so that the photosynthesis helped him grow more businesses. And he does graphic design, so I had the promo sent to his email. Right? So, if we go through them one by one, right? Lorax, of course, every word has a connotation to it. And that's where you get to kind of explore your cloud, if you will, from the rhyme, right? So, for example, if you talk about energy, right? If energy is a bubble, right? Energy. If energy is a bubble, you can talk about electricity, right? You can talk about electricity. You can talk about mood, right? Talk about your energies down, right? But if you can talk about literal electricity, you can talk about, and then within electricity, right, that branches off to like Amarin, right, which is an electricity company, right? And then you can get into volts, electrons, protons, neutrons, right? So every word has a connotation that can kind of send it into different places. The cloud can send you different places, right? Now, of course, the more detailed you get, the less connections you can make, but the less connections you can make is what makes it very rare for the punchline or the rhyme to sound really, really dope. So, for example, photosynthesis, right? If photosynthesis is, and I'm just going to put photo, right, for short. If photosynthesis is a, I'll just write it down. Hold on, spell it wrong. Photosynthesis. Right, so real quick, photo means light, right? The breakdown of the word synthesize means to break down, right? So to break down light. Photosynthesis is the process by which plants break down light and make food, right? So photo means light, just like photography, photography. Graph means to write or to draw. Photography means to write with light. So next time you see a photographer, call them a light writer, all right? Because they're writing with light. They're literally manipulating light and drawing pictures of us with them and with color. Because light spectrum has different colors in it. So anyhow, photosynthesis, right? If we talk about the cloud of photosynthesis, you can talk about, of course, plants, right? Plants, green, right? Wild plant life, stuff like that. So it's pretty much limited to that connotation of that. Now, there is a fourth wall, if you will. Everybody say fourth wall. Fourth wall that you can break through with the phonetic sounding of it. Photosynthesis. Actually, I'm going to use a different word for that one. But I heard a rapper one time said, I had the photo sent to sis, like sent to his sister, right? But the way he crafted it, it worked. And so he ended up breaking the fourth wall with that to where there was a back way of saying that I can't only rap about plants. I can rap about what it sounds like it's saying, right? And I'll give you guys an example of that towards the end of this lesson. For example, if I use the word ate, right? Ate, past tense of eating, right? So I can talk about eating, right? Mastication. And mastication is just a big word for eating in cows. How they say cows have 4 stomachs, right? So eating, mastication. I can talk about food, right? Because that's the gateway to food. Food is related to 8. But also the phonetic spelling of 8 sounds like what? The number 8. So the fourth wall back here, I can talk about the number 8. And then it gives me a cloud to a whole nother dimension, right? So the 8, I could talk about how 8 sideways is infinity. And infinity and beyond Buzz Lightyear. You see what I'm saying? And so word association ends up getting to go as far as I want it to go. I use this in a rhyme. I said 2 times the great, 2 times the more dudes on my plate getting 8. So that's 2 times the 4, right? So cool. So you guys understand the cloud. That's how you make your rhymes doper when you use words. So each of these words has a cloud to it. So I'm going to kind of run through these real quick. So floor mat, of course, you can talk about things being on the floor or laying down. But then when you add floor mat to Lorax, Lorax is a movie, right? So if you write a cloud around Lorax, movie, Dr. Seuss story, children's, right? So anything about Dr. Seuss story or children, you can relate to floor mat all in this rhyme. That's where your filler becomes meaningful. And so then forecast, when you add forecast to floor mat, it's like, how can I relate a weather forecast to laying on the floor mat, right? And so what I did is when I freestyled, I just thought of a way to say like, okay, I was laying down inside because it was raining outside. Because usually when it rains, people stay inside. Boom. So then energy, once again, I did the cloud with energy. Tendency, right? Tendency means like somebody has the likelihood, the increased likelihood to do something. So if you have the tendency to be late, that means that more than likely you're going to be late. Infant sings, right? This is cool because it makes a specific scenario. And so the web is very short. If I'm talking about an infant singing, I can only talk about babies, right? Specifically newborn babies, right? Because they're infants before they become toddlers, right? And then singing. Now, singing is associated with joy, right? So if a baby's singing, as opposed to crying, it's safe to say that, okay, this baby is full of joy or is having a good time. And so if I talk about babies and joy, what I can use is I can use an infant sings as a comparison to the type of joy that I have. You know, whenever we see babies, they're full of joy. And so when I drew this comparison with my energy, has the tendency to be happy like when an infant sings, right? But of course, we still got the 3-syllable rhyme scheme going. So we got energy, tendency, infant sings, right? So now what I did with this one is, all right, television, repetition. It's pretty much easy, right? So if you use television, I'm gonna put TV right here. So if television has a cloud, which most TVs do have a cloud now, right? So if television has a cloud, you can talk about, of course, you can talk about broadcasting, right? You can talk about antennas, right? You could talk about programming. You could talk about TV shows. You can talk about commercials, right? The cloud goes bigger and bigger and bigger because anything that's in the TV you could talk about. Anything about the makeup of the TV you can talk about and stay on subject, right? I'm all about being unlazy with language, right? And being on topic. And so pretty much you can relate anything in connotation to a television. You can talk about what you saw on it or what you saw it made of. So television repetition is pretty easy. Most things repeat on the TV like commercials and TV shows and stuff like that. So, I was watching the television over and over in repetition. Now, when it comes to Fred's decision, right, when I wrote that, so making Fred's decision a cloud is specific, just like infant sings, right? Because I have to talk about this person who I just introduced to the story named Fred, right? So, of course, Fred's a guy, and I'm talking about his decision making. So when we're talking about Fred's decision, a guy named Fred, his decision, I get to make up any type of new world, if you will, based on this fictional character that I brought into the rap. And so, but the key is, or the challenge is for me to relate it back to repetition in television, which is open-ended, so it's pretty much easy to do that, right? And so that's why I just said, I was watching the TV, I was watching the television in repetition, and asked my friend what he wanted to do, and I was introduced to Fred's decision, right? Now, of course, as you guys heard me kind of hesitating right there, what I was doing is I was crafting so that the sentence made sense. So I couldn't say, watching the television in repetition, and I asked my friend Fred for Fred's decision. That doesn't make sense, right? Because I said it twice, it's redundant. So I had to craft it to say I got an answer, and now I had to think about Fred's decision, right? It kind of introduces it a little bit more clever or less bland. And so when you're writing rhymes, you're writing poems, you want to be as least bland as possible. You want to add flash and flair, and that's why I'm giving you guys these tools. These multi-syllable rhymes are like adding, a brand new, like upgrading your house. When you see people upgrade their houses and stuff like that, upgrading the kitchen and the outdoors and the indoors, and adding a pool and adding to the bathroom and things like that. That's what multi-syllable rhyming adds to your poetry, to your raps, and to your singing. So on the photosynthesis, all right. Once again, photosynthesis is a cloud, can only be the connotations, the context that you can talk about within photosynthesis only deals with plants. and plant life, right? Now, when I talk about grow more businesses, right, off the top of your head, as you heard that, right, heard me say photosynthesis and grow more businesses. When you think about plant life, the first thing we learn about plant life as we're younger is that plants grow. You know, you plant seeds and then those seeds grow and they turn into other things, right? So, boom. So grow more businesses, right? Grow, I'm gonna make a cloud for that. Grow mo, and mo is more, right? But we pronounce it mo, right? Grow mo businesses. Now we have to pronounce it mo because it rhymes with the second O in photo, right? Photosynthesis, grow mo businesses. So, boom, grow mo businesses. It's a cloud. You can only talk about growing businesses, right? So you can talk about, CEOs, anything related to businesses or growing. Boom. So when we talk about grow more businesses, right, you can only talk about things that are related to growing businesses, right? So you can talk about anything business related like CEOs, workers, stockholders. You can talk about, what is it called? Analytics, right? Different things dealing with businesses, right? And how to grow more businesses. You could talk about marketing, right? Because marketing is related to business. And so this is another cloud that kind of has an infinite gateway with subject matter that you can rap about. And so, boom. So then the more words you add, it could either increase or decrease, and it should increase, right? It increases the character, if you will, of your cloud. So when I talk about the word having a cloud, when you add more words to it, it makes the cloud bigger, just like clouds add on, but it makes it more unique and more fleshed out. So when your rhyme is done or your poem is done, it's very rich with flavor, if you will, full of, multi-syllable rhyming and metaphors and similes and phonetic puns and things like that. Now, when I say promo sent to his, right? Promo, of course, is a slang word that we've accepted over time as a shorthand word for promotion, right? Or promotional items. So when I say I need to go promo my show, I'm using it as a verb. I need to go promote my show. But if I say, hey, hand me that piece of promo right there, I'm talking about that promotional item, that flyer, that poster. So promo sent to his as a phrase, right? Promo sent to his, I'm talking about a specific scenario. I'm talking about a promotional item, right? I'm using it as a noun. A promotional item sent to some gentleman's something. It could be his hand to his house, to his email, right? But that's for me to fill in with my creativity. So these are the contexts, all while keeping the rhyming going. So that's why I want to teach you guys the first lesson. First lesson I'm teaching you guys is the multi-syllable rhyming, is because I got so far off into the weeds of the context that as people are listening, it's going to sound good. That's why I'm teaching you to rhyme, because rhyming sounds good. It adds flash and flair. Now, people's subconscious is going to dissect all the content that you decide to add into there, right? So as long as you write everything, they're going to catch it later. And that's what it means to catch it later. On first listen, they're listening to the rhyming, how it sounds. Like, oh, that sounded ill. Photosynthesis, grow more businesses, promo sent to his, right? That's like, it just sounds good. And so that's the thing about rhyming. So Lorax, floor mat, forecast, energy, tendency, infant sings, television, repetition, fresh decision, photosynthesis, grow more businesses, promo sent to his. All right, so now I'm going to add one more word. Let's just, why not? So a Lorax, floor mat, forecast, we'll say more cash, right? More cash, tendency, energy, infant sings, end of me. We'll say this. We'll say this. No, not into me. No. Infamy. There we go. Goes a little bit better. A little bit better. So instead of, although the 4 doesn't rhyme with the the 3-syllable rhyme, this gets away as a slant rhyme, if you will. Not a slant rhyme, it's still direct, but it's more, it's less rhymey, it's less accurate than energy and tendency. or energy and synergy, because it's literally the same word just with an S in front of it. So infamy, actually I'm gonna use different. We'll say infamy. Infamy, all right? Infamy, like being infamous, right? Here we go. Infamous is an adjective. Infamy is a noun, right? You'll live in infamy, in fame. So television repetition, phrase decision. Let me see. Red. Sled. Television repetition. I'm trying to think of it. I keep stomping myself right here. Here we go. Led a fish in. There we go. Television repetition, phrase decision, led a fish in. All right. And then promo sent to his Gromo businesses. Now I'm gonna get braggadocious. Flow so intricate, right? Now I can get in my bag, like boom, my braggadocious lyricism, right? Because you gotta have that flair as an MC. You gotta have that. Let me talk about how dope I am. So, low racks, floor mat, forecast, more cash, energy, tendency, infant sings, infamy, television repetition, phrase decision, led a fish in, photosynthesis, Gromo businesses, promo sent to his, flow so intricate, right? Now, when we talk about this, I just created clouds with these 4 phrases. Now you're already thinking, now that I got you guys thinking the right way, you're thinking about how can I make more cash relate to forecast, floor mat, and lower racks. Now, of course, when you write your rhymes, you can skip around. You don't have to only do a 2-syllable lower racks rhyme throughout the whole rap or a 3-syllable energy rhyme throughout the whole rap. You can mix them around, but I challenge you to at least put them in groups of 4, because if you decide to write a rap, it's usually 4 counts or 16 bars in a verse. And so every 4 bars is when the beat usually changes. So for example, I always use Drake's example of the Forever verse, right? When he's like, last name ever, first name greatest, something, I ain't nothing to play with. Thanks to all the haters, something on a first name basis. So he said, greatest, play with, haters, and let me see, basis, right? So then he say something, he knows, something, chemo, right? So he did it every 4 bars. If you go back and listen to that verse, you'll hear that that's how he rhymed them. So when you do groups of 4, of course 4 times 4 is 16, right? So it equals out, it's even. And so, that's if you rhyme into a beat. But you can rhyme without a beat and it still will sound as great and as enticing if you're doing a spoken word pieces, because you get to choose your pacing. Once this beat is set, you have to follow that BPM or beats per minute tempo of that. And you can't pretty much stray from that. So as I wrap up this lesson, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back into the coding part of it, right? Up here, I showed you the phonetic coding of these rhymes, right? O, at, right? Vowel sounds, the O and the A in Lorax, the I, the U, and the E in energy. The television, in television you have E-A-I-I, television, right? E vowel sound, A vowel sound, I vowel sound, I vowel sound. Television. Some would argue that it's E-E-I-I. I'm cool with that, right? As long as you know how it sounds. And the cool thing about rhyming and about words is that you can stretch it however you want it to be. If you live in another city or country, like for example, I currently live in St. Louis. In St. Louis, people say her instead of here, right? But in Chicago, they pronounce their R's really hard, H-U-R-R. In Chicago, we don't pronounce R's at all. So we say, here, come here, Joe, right? Or, instead of car, we say ka, or some people may not even put the H, right? Ka, hey, go get the keys to my car, right? That's how we talk. In New Orleans, they speak a different, a different twang. And these are called twangs, right? How you say a word differently. In California, they say, they pronounce things differently. But the cool thing is that there are different slang terms for every city and every, state and different cultures. And so you can add that into these different things. It's going to make it more and more beautiful. So when you use a word that you made up, or you use a phrase that you heard your grandmama say that you know everybody in your city understands, you can make your punchlines more unique to you. And so to keep this going, so I talked about the coding of the vowel sounds, right? To break it all the way down. Now what I want to talk about is the mathematic coding to these rhymes. For example, I gotta erase one of these so you guys can kind of, so I need more space to write. So we'll erase this one right quick, right? So for the 2-syllable rhyming, right? Now you do the math leading up to it. So 2, the math equation for 2 is 2 plus 0, but it's also 1 plus 1. There's no other way that you can get to 2. Meaning that if you want to rhyme a 2-syllable word like Lorax, you can rhyme with another 2-syllable word like forecast, or you can rhyme 2 1-syllable words that match the O and the A, like floor mat. 1 syllable, 1 syllable. 1 word, 1 word. 2 syllables, 1 word. 2 words, 1 syllable each. 1 plus 1, 2 plus 0. Y'all with me? So that means the more we go up in number, like energy, tendency, infant sings, infamy, right? So with energy, you guessed it, how do we get to 3? What's the addition of problems for 3? You got 3 plus 0, right? That's always the first one. 3 plus 0. You have 2 plus 1. You have the inverse of that too, right? You also have, I'm going to put a comma here, you have 1 plus 2. You also have 1 plus 1 plus 1. Meaning that you can rhyme a 3-syllable word like energy with another 3-syllable word like tendency, or you can rhyme a 2-syllable word in sequence with a 1-syllable word following, like infant sings. That's 2-1, right? Because infant is a 2-syllable word, sings is 1-syllable word, right? Or the inverse would be like, let me see, energy in, what rhymes with urgy? Urgy, clergy. Oh, in clergy, right? So boom. But it sounds weird when I say it like that. Instead of in clergy, energy in clergy, right? Clergy is like the, people in the church that work for the church, right? Pastors and deaconesses and stuff like that. So, boom. So that's a 1-2 because that's a 1-syllable word. That's a 2-syllable word. That rhymes with energy, which is a 3-syllable word. So 1 plus 2 equals 3, right? Now the last example, 1 plus 1 plus 1 is of course 3 1-syllable words that rhyme with energy, like in her seat. Energy in her seat, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 1. So now, of course, as you guys can already foreshadow, as we're going up in number, the possibilities grow greater and greater. So, for example, 4, the math to 4 is 4 plus 0. It's also 3 plus 1. The inverse, 1 plus 3. It's also 2 plus 2. It is also 2 plus 1 plus 1 is where it gets really cool or really crazy, right? 2 plus 1 plus 1. You also have 1 plus 2 plus 1. Now this is sequence, right? So don't get too lost in the math. When I say 2, I'm talking about, just imagine me saying 2-syllable word, all right? So 2-syllable word, 1-syllable word, 1-syllable word to rhyme with television. Or you can rearrange it and put a 1-syllable word, a 2 and then a 1. And then you could also do a 1 plus 1 plus 2. And I believe those are all the combinations for 4. So, of course, repetition is another 4. But I said Fred's decision. Fred's decision would be 1 plus 3 because Fred's is a 1-syllable word and decision is a 3-syllable word, right? So that 1 plus 3 matched the 4. And then if I said 2 plus 2, television. If I said television and I said, better vision instead, right? Better is a 2-syllable word. Vision is a 2-syllable word. So that would be 2 plus 2, right? Now, of course, when you get to 5, you got, and this is the last part I'm gonna talk about. Now I'll use the example. So with photosynthesis, I said the last one I wrote was flow so intricate. So I want you guys to try and guess before I say it. Flow so intricate. What's the math coding for this to rhyme with the 5? What equation equals to 5? 1 plus 1 plus 3. Because flow is a 1-syllable word, so is a 1-syllable word, and intricate is a 3-syllable word. But they all equal up to this 5, which is photosynthesis. So this is my first class on multi-syllable rhyming. I'll use some more examples as time goes on. Please like, rate, and subscribe. Put your comments. Any questions that you have in the comments, I'm going to answer them all. Make sure you share with a friend. And, man, keep on coming back to rhythm and poetry, man. We got more in store for not just rhyming, but also for performance. And I got some business tips to help you guys become or maintain and not be starving artists. I am Brandon Alexander Williams. Peace and love. Thank you for your time.